In this video, I'm going to break down the 5 crippling belief systems that roofers who try to constantly scale past $5 million a year all face. So these are subtle but destructive mindset traps that keep you majoring in the minor details, getting you stuck in the weeds and actually leaving millions on the table. Look, I'm not here to make any wild income claims and say like after watching this video, you're going to hit that income mark, because the reality is most roofing businesses will never hit that level. But for those of you who are actually serious about growth, true business owners, not just roofers, this video will give you the framework to break past those plateaus. Okay. So for context, my name is Oscar Say. I run a marketing agency and I work with 57 roofing companies doing more than $2.5 million a year. Our average client does $4 million annually. So everything I'm about to share is backed by real data from real companies that have made these transitions in mindset beliefs. Okay. So the first mindset that you have to break is your cost per appointment obsession. So one of the most common and costly beliefs that I see is an unhealthy obsession with what I like to call layer two metrics, specifically cost per appointment. What I've seen is business owners who are getting like a 4x return on their marketing investment who refuse to scale into their marketing because their cost per appointment is $20 higher than what they think it should be. So let's do the math. All right. We have a client that invested $80,000 over 10 months of working with us and generated $600,000 of revenue at 30% margins. To be clear, that's a phenomenal return. But instead of scaling it, this client got bogged down insisting that cost per appointment must go down before he has to scale ad spend. Now, this is a fundamental misunderstanding about how advertising and like growing an actual business works. Look, as you scale, your appointment costs will inevitably rise. And the key is to outpace that inflation with a stronger brand and more efficient sales process. This is a classic case of penny pinching. Okay. So you're getting too focused on the minor details that you're missing the bigger picture, overall profit. You're letting your desire to be right about a metric like actually get in the way of you making more money. Typically the clients that actually scale, they make less profit, like their profit margin is lower, but since they spend more on expenses, they get more appointments and they're able to justify the expenses being higher because they make more money overall. So even though their profit margin is a little bit lower, they still make more money overall. So what's the solution? The solution is having the Chad Roofer mindset. The Chad Roofer, like a true business owner that doesn't get sucked into what I like to call layer two statistics, they operate on what I like to call layer one statistics. So they look at these are what layer one statistics are. They look at ad spend, how much should I put into marketing, revenue, how much should I get out, return on ad spend, or ROAS, what was the multiple on my time investment. So they operate with a simple and powerful tool. It's called the if this, then that statement. If my return on ad spend is above a 10, then I will increase my ad spend by 10 to 30% every week. If it goes below that, I'm going to fix the bottleneck, look at my layer two statistics, which are things like in marketing, such as cost per click, link click-through rate, CPMs, your survey conversion rate, your appointment like lead to booking rate, as well as your closing rate. You fix that and then you scale up. That is how you make data-driven decision. It removes emotion and ego from the equation. You have a clear math formula for growth. If your layer one stats are off, then you dive into layer two to diagnose the problem. Is it the click-through rate, the lead booking ratio, the close rate? You identify the bottleneck then, and then you fix it while keeping the big picture in mind, okay? Very important to understand that. Another belief that you have to break is the fair lead distribution fallacy. This second belief that's crippling your growth is the idea that you have to distribute leads fairly. Let's say you have 4 sales reps. You got A, B, C, D, Adam, Brad, Charlie, and David, okay? You give each of them every 4th lead in a round robin system. Okay, it seems fair, but you're actually like killing your momentum. Where's the incentive for your A players to perform, right? So 10 leads, A, B, C, D, Adam, Brad, Charlie, David. First lead comes in, give it to Adam. Second lead comes in, give it to Brad. Third lead comes in, Charlie. Fourth lead, David. So repeat this cycle. So every sales rep, doesn't even matter how good they do, they get the same number of leads. Where's your incentive for your A players to perform? You're giving the same opportunity to your top closers as your underperformers. This is a recipe for mediocrity. The solution is a performance-based hierarchy. So being a proactive sales leader that understands you don't have to build a high performance team by treating everyone the same, um, makes these changes. And so you start to build by creating a culture of like excellence and rewarding your top performers. Okay. So create a hierarchy. Instead of a round robin, you create a leaderboard. Your best reps, the ones with the highest close rates and the highest average revenue per appointment, very important, they get the most leads. This creates a competitive environment where everyone's incentivized to improve. Everyone's bought in. You make more money. How do you know if your sales reps are proficient? You conduct what I like to call quality assessment checks. Use a simple tool like voice memos on your iPhone and then use it to record every single one of your sales reps appointments. If you have this like pocket over here, most polos that you buy for your sales reps, they're gonna have a pocket here, right? So if you have the logo on this side, maybe the pocket's on this side. Put the phone here with the mic up, turn on voice memos, record every single one of your sales appointments if you're not already. Listen to the appointments that went well, the ones that didn't, and use the recordings and the trainings as material in your weekly sales meetings. Okay, another way that you can improve this, like the distribution issue and improve overall sales is being a hawk for energy. Okay, mindset belief. Sales is the transfer of energy and belief. If your rep is having a terrible day, if they're going through personal issues like a divorce or maybe a loved one is not doing so well, it's reflected in their sales numbers. And as a leader, you need to be living in their world with them. You need to be their coach, their mentor, and their support system. Like their energy is your responsibility. So it's very important to understand that because what happens to these sales organizations is they don't think that like the leader of the organization doesn't believe or doesn't have the leader of the organization doesn't have the belief system that it's actually needed to be on top of their sales reps because they treat them like employees. False. They drive revenue for your company. Why would you not take care of the things and people driving revenue for your company? Arguably the most important thing. Belief break number 3. Both decision makers must be present trap. Okay, here's a belief that's costing you deals. Insisting that both decision makers be present from the start. Yes, you need both spouses to close like a deal between 15 to 20K, but demanding this upfront creates unnecessary friction and kills appointments before they happen. I have a solution. Actually got this from one of my clients doing 40 million a year. It's a banger. It's a game changer. Okay. So instead of it demanding both decision makers be code at the outset from like a phone call, step 1 is the sales rep goes on the appointment with whoever's available. Step 2, they spend 15 to 20 minutes building rapport, like walking around the house, establishing trust. And step 3, they say something like, hey, I actually got 2 appointments coming up, but I think your husband, Bob, would like love to hear what I've got. So I already got a good understanding of what you need over what we've discussed. So we can go over things like the comment, the shingle, and all the details when we're together. I think that he'd love that. Right. And then what you do is like you step out, you book another appointment when both homeowners are going to be home. Okay. The result, a 100% show up rate with both decision makers present. You've eliminated the friction while achieving the same outcome just with one tiny small extra step. Okay. This was more of an action step than a belief system, but something that you do have to break is that belief because you got to start innovating. Like these things that you're not doing and that other bigger companies are doing, there's a reason. Okay. And you got to start like investing into understanding that like I have to make these changes because like things are evolving. And I have to not use what it is that I have been applying to my business because things change and I can improve. Okay. Belief break number 4. I'm the business owner. I'm above taking sales appointments. This is where ego destroys your profit. Okay. I don't care if you're doing $5 to $10 million a year. If you think you're above taking appointments, you're missing critical insights about your business. Here's what I noticed. Companies doing less than 2.5 million always complain about lead quality. But once they cross that threshold, we never hear that complaint because the owner starts taking appointments first with new lead sources like Roofing 9. Here's a reality check. Never trust what your sales reps tell you. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts that I had to make that you also need to make, that all our clients make. Sales reps are going to trick you with their words. They'll say the lead quality is bad or these leads aren't warm enough. But what they really mean is they don't know how to handle objections. Okay. So I'll give you an example, perfect example of this. When a sales rep says a lead is shopping around or that the roof is too expensive, dig deeper. What exactly did the homeowner say? Like, how did you respond? And you'll often find that the rep just doesn't know how to handle basic price objections. Okay. You need data, not opinions. Record everything, question everything, position it as feedback to help them improve, but never take their word at face value. Okay. The fastest growing companies that expand to new lead channels always have the owners or like the lead salespeople or the strongest salespeople or sales managers take appointments. Why? Because sales reps often have the worst close rates with new lead sources because they need a different approach to it, right? Like their approach that they're using for an LA lead channel won't work. And owners, they have the business acumen by knowing about like the whole picture of the business to properly diagnose what's really happening and then articulate that back to the marketing. Here's belief break number 5. Marketing and sales are separate departments. And this creates a lot of beef and ego and like, oh, I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong, something like that. This kills scalability. You're treating marketing and sales as 2 different departments when they should actually just be one holistic cycle. Okay, so here's a solution. I like to call this the integration solution. Think of those 2 departments as one process. Marketing attracts attention, then turns it into a lead. That lead has unanswered questions, but they're not ready to buy a roof yet at that step. So your job is to sell them on the next step, always selling on the next step. You can also speed up the sales cycle. Like when a sales rep says, this lead isn't warm enough, or they need more time to make a decision, that's just not true. People don't need time to make decisions. They need information. So what I want you to do is create pre-appointment content. Take the common objections, most common objections from your sales tape, and create videos and content that will answer those questions before the appointment. Send these to the homeowner through your appointment centers or through like their closer that uses their iPhone to text the messages, using like an iPhone preferably because it has a blue bubble on it. And people don't like green bubbles nowadays. Okay. This way, your sales rep shows up ready to collect payment and less to educate. It turns from an education appointment into like, I'm a cash collector, like as a cashier, and you're literally just going to give me your money. That is putting it extremely, extremely blunt, but that is what it technically is. All right, moral of the story. Here's the bottom line. $5 million a year is not a lot. You're probably at that point only taking home less than $1 million net. And for some people, that's good. If you got a family and that's good enough for where you live in America, that's good enough, right? But you're really trying to grow, right? If you're like me, I need to think big but feel small. Whether you have a family or not, you should be making more money. If you don't have a family, you should make more money for your future. If you do have a family, they need you to make more money. The roofing business owners who are scaling to multiple 7 figures and even 8 figures, they're the ones who have broken these 5 core beliefs. They're not focused on being right. They're focused on making money. Okay. They build sales teams that reward excellence, not fairness and mediocrity. They understand that sales and marketing are one integrated system, and they stay involved in the sales process and they never trust opinions over data. Most importantly, they understand in roofing, when there's hot seasons, you have to strike when the iron is hot. While you're over here worrying about your cost per appointment being $10 higher than where it should be, the Chad roofer is scaling and capturing your market share. Look, roofer, if you're stuck and frustrated because you're not hitting your appointment goals, you should ask yourself, which of these 5 beliefs is currently holding me back from hitting the goals that I deserve? The answer to that question will be the key to unlocking your next level of growth. Because at the end of the day, you got 2 choices. You can be right or you can make real money. Choose wisely. Look, if you enjoyed this video, my name's Oscar Sam, the owner of Roof Ignite. I help roofers every single day scale their companies and add 7 figures in roof jobs year over year to their companies by installing the advertising system. So like if your biggest constraint is just marketing and you've got all the things that we've talked about, maybe 1 or 2 that you have to solve from this video, but like at the end of the day, your sales processes are good and you have your business processes set out. I'd love to help you if you do actually want to get those multi-million-dollar years. All you have to do is reach out, click the link in the description, see if you qualify to work with us. Okay. And we'll help you get there. We'll talk and we'll build out a financial projection and model so that you can actually figure out, like, if I put X dollar, I get Y dollar back, right? Something like that. Anyways, thanks for tuning in and I'll see you in the next video.